There it goes.
Hello and welcome to Gooners in the USA. How are you today, Michael?
I'm doing all right. It's the end of an era, the end of the week, end of everything. How you doing? You holding up all right?
I am. What a way to end the season, though, right? The shittiest performance, the shittiest season we've probably all known as supporters.
It was all right. It was all right. We 1-0 to the Arsenal anyway, but we have a brand new guest with us tonight. Not new to me, but certainly new to the pod. We had big news. We were all set to welcome Freddie Lundberg to the pod tonight.
Yeah, we'll get him on.
Huge end of season spectacular, and he came online, and it turned out it was this cheap knockoff version that we see with us today. But I'm just kidding around. Tom's a guy I've known for about 3 or 4 years. He heads up the Richmond, Virginia branch of Arsene America, which only a couple hours away from me. I've made a few visits. We've traveled together to London for the last 2 years and somehow not gotten arrested or in a lot of trouble. The guy loves heavy metal. We share a fanship of Howard Stern, which cracks us up all the time. And, of course, he loves himself some Arsenal. He is a German-born American who, let's just say he's not the biggest fan of Ozil or Mustafi. In fact, to his credit, he called Mustafi the German Squillaci the very first time we were linked with him. And looked pretty stupid at the beginning, but he was waiting to look smart.
Yeah.
And last but not least, he voluntarily skipped the last 2 FA Cup finals with Arsenal because he got an alert that there were new episodes of Fake Taxi that were posted that morning. So, welcome to the pod for your duck-breaking appearance, Tom Rosenhammer.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, to quote The Simpsons, I guess you couldn't get Freddie Ljungberg, but I'm the non-union Mexican equivalent of Freddie Ljungberg.
Oh man, and word has it you go by the name of Tom Sevens. Any history behind how you got that nickname?
Okay, yeah, you're the one that assigned that nickname.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Because we're in New Orleans and getting some drinks, getting some food, and participating in our other spectator sport, bird watching. You can hit your bell, and we're watching all these women walking past, and it's tons of smoke shows, what you might refer to as an Instagram fitness model or something. And for me, my eye gets drawn to what I would call the girl next door. And then you said, you like sevens.
Well, I'm just
not 9s and 10s walking past. You like sevens.
I've been hanging out with you long enough to get a sense of what your type is, and just as far as what you're attracted to, and I just noticed there's something in common. They're all sevens. Not that I would ever evaluate another human being based on physical appearance, because my God, I'm a -7. But all right, so that's Tom Sevens. A little interesting story. You guys are both big Jack fans.
Yeah.
Jack, you've been jacking each other off all before the podcast for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, if
you're not a Jack fan, you don't like freedom or.
Yeah, what did you tweet Andy yesterday? Like something. I see the word Jack and cunt in the same tweet.
No, it's twat. I think I said twat. I said if you don't think Jack deserves a new contract, you're a twat, or something like that. And then some guy wrote back, if you think Jack deserves a new contract, you're a twat. That's what I think I called him. I think I called him a cunt.
Okay. Yeah, I lost track of the twat cunt conversation after a while. Real quick, just and it's gotten a little strange, but I was going to say I love the conversation we had with Rocco Fasano just a couple days ago. We did some back-to-back pods, but I was anxious for some news on the big arrival of Max Allegri. Got whipped into a frenzy a little bit, and then not so much today.
Yeah.
But if you want to hear the podcast, lots of interesting things. If we do end up with Max Allegri, there's some interesting insight on that. So go to our website or our Twitter for that. But if you want to get whipped into a frenzy about Mikel Arteta, I cannot help you there. I'm sorry.
That podcast will be coming out about Mikel Arteta, and it will be 3 minutes long.
it will end with the two of us shooting ourselves in the head.
He will return to Arsenal, make himself captain, and then he'll be injured for 2 years, and we'll never see him. He will be the manager.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, today, just a quick Allegri update. He says, "Will I stay at Juve? Yes, I have a contract to honor. If they don't sack me, I'll stay at Juventus next year too." Which, to be fair, I don't know what else he's supposed to say.
Yeah,
he's not going to say.
Left. They've had no parade. You don't want to come out and say you're leaving before you get to celebrate. Was the game at home or away today?
I couldn't. It was in Italy.
Either way, he doesn't get the opportunity to come out and say it right away, and you're still in contract negotiations. That's what you expect him to say, but it's looking ever unlikely that he will join us.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's that where there's smoke, there's fire thing. Yeah. So,
but as Rocco said, the fan base, the players, kind of feel like it might be time for them to change because they don't believe he's the man to take them to the Champions League final and win it. So who knows, right? We'll see.
What I love is that Rocco's he's been like tagging us on tweets, basically updates from Italian journalists. Some of them, for all I know, they might be Italian ITKs. I asked how many of them still live with their mothers, and he's like, not all of them. A couple of them.
Not all of them.
But the first updates were like, this will encourage you guys, and then today is like, hate to burst your bubble, but. No. It's silly season. It's silliest season of them all.
It is.
And you heard a different quote from Allegri, didn't you? That would give me some hope that he's going to come to Arsenal that you shared in our WhatsApp group. I don't
remember. I pulled it from Twitter that just said I have a contract to honor.
No, it had something to do with 4 Scudettos, big deal. You just can't turn off.
Oh yeah. Mike, I made that up.
I know. That's what I was trying to prompt you to say.
Oh yeah, no, I said yeah. You can't turn down the opportunity to coach someone like Iwobi.
Scudetto, Schmudetto. You gotta go for Iwobi.
Iwobi and League Cup, sign me up.
Hey, baby. All right, so a quick note also before we get to the game today. A messy-less Barcelona lost its bid for an invincible season to fucking Levante. Yeah. You can't do the spoiler, Andy. What kind of league is Barcelona now the champion of?
It's starting to at first it started just to be a joke for Tom, and now it's becoming a real thing. And not the Tom we have on the pod today.
Right, no.
But
the Tom that we like to make fun of. And love, by the way.
Yeah, and he won't be listening to this because it's too late, and his mom will have him in bed already.
He's been tucked in.
Yeah.
His ears are going to be covered by the stuffed animals.
Hey, Gooner, stop.
Tom Cantona.
Yeah.
Cantona. So yeah, it is a feeder league. All right. So speaking, okay. Now I have to admit, I am distracted. I am watching my Washington Capitals.
I think we're all watching this game, right?
The closest thing to even coming close to my passion for football and for Arsenal, it would be our local hockey team, which is the Capitals, who very much like Arsenal are good when it doesn't count and bad when it counts. And this year seems to be the outlier. They're making a deep run in the cup, run for the cup, and they just scored. So that's what distracted me.
So let's go to the game. Arsenal versus Huddersfield. So 1,235 games as manager has now come to an end. Game had little riding on it. I think that we can all agree it was more of a let's play and not get hurt for the holidays, or let's play and not get hurt for World Cup. But it was one of the probably most lackluster performances from Arsenal in a long time. But first two things kind of, for me, Mike. Arsene walks out instantly over to the away support, does his bow, which I thought was really classy because he very often doesn't even clap them, for traveling. So it was nice for them to do that. And then really well done by the entire stadium and Huddersfield to say, hey, 22nd minute, we want everyone to stand up to send this guy off. That was pretty cool to see from a club that doesn't really have any relationship or rivalry with Arsenal outside of Herbert Chapman. So that was pretty cool to see as well.
Which is decades and decades and almost century ago, but yet it's
like you saw him as manager.
Yeah, like that's how
old Mike is.
There's only two people in our circles who were around when Herbert Chapman was around. It's me and Judge.
Yeah, I was about to say Judges. Yeah,
it's the only two people. But yeah, class from Huddersfield fans. I was going to get to this later, but we might as well cover it now. I mean, the organization. I thought the game would not be as close as it was, simply because it seemed to almost be more about honoring Arsene Wenger from Huddersfield perspective than even playing the game. So credit to them for putting a good game on. But sounded like, and I wasn't there obviously, but it sounded like there was some good banter going back and forth. Arsenal fans singing "One Arsene Wenger," Huddersfield fans going, "You wanted him out, you two-faced bastards, you wanted him out." And then Arsenal fans responding with, "He left because you're shit. He left because you're shit. Herbert Chapman, he left because you're shit." So, but it seemed to all be in good fun. So fair play to them. In fact, I think Huddersfield did such a good job of welcoming Arsene Wenger that he's just announced he's taking over there as manager next year, because they really seem to like him. But a couple banners flown over the stadium in the first 10 minutes.
I was going to get to that. Now,
okay.
Obviously you've got the banner of the "We Will Miss You," but Tom, the banner of "Kroenke, You're Next." Now, was that created and designed by someone with a couple billion pounds in the bank? Because fan vote's not going to get – Arsenal Fan TV is not going to get Kroenke removed from owning his entire stake of Arsenal. I mean, what a waste of money.
Can you imagine if Kroenke was dangling from the end of that flag? They're like, no.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny because, all right, yeah, there's a joke, but in reality – it's not a publicly held company. It's not like there's a board that's going to remove him. He sits on most of the shares. Kroenke probably doesn't even know that banner was put up today. Mm-mm. And, he's laughing himself silly about it because, say, for instance, the pub where I was watching today, I'm talking to a Liverpool fan, and he's telling me, Liverpool's being promised something like $250 million this summer. And I'm going, wow, our owner has tons of money. And David Ornstein said on a podcast a few months ago that, yeah, Arsenal have never, ever asked Kroenke for money. And Kroenke is probably just as unlikely to ever give any money. So, yeah, for that banner, it's just kind of what power do we possibly have?
There's none. And all we can hope for is that Josh is the Kroenke that matters more, because from everything I've seen and from everything that our resident Kroenke expert sitting in his house in the Colorado area, in Arvada, can tell us it's the lesser of two evils, Josh versus Stan.
Yeah, and nothing will change. I mean,
here's the rest of Andy's home address, by the
way. They 100% own this club, and unless someone comes in with a just ridiculous offer, nothing is going to change. But we've said it before on the pod. I don't know why he doesn't run the club like Ashley does up at Newcastle. Blanket the entire stadium with your own companies sponsoring, and just inject cash via that model. Are
we calling Mike Ashley the model owner of a Premier League franchise?
No, but fucking Walmart Stadium or something, and give us £1 billion so we can
Los Angeles Rams Stadium.
Yeah, the Denver Nuggets stand.
Yeah, and the banner thing. So I didn't even. I heard about it, but I didn't see the Kroenke Your Next one. So was that one televised as well?
I don't. Well, people got pictures of it, which looked like they were from TV, but I didn't see it.
If that's the case, then 3 of them made TV in the early part of the game. I swear to God, if we had just thought of it earlier, we could have spent £1,000. That's what it takes to get a plain banner up there, and just we could have said some token nice thing about Arsene Wenger, so that I mean, we can't put fuck off, you Spurs or something like that, and then expect it to get shown on television, but. And then, from Gooners in USA, it would have been the easiest publicity ever. So
I would have spent £1,000 just to have a banner that says Andy Gixer loves Arsene Wenger.
By the way, yeah, you owe me 500 pounds. I didn't do it, but I just for coming up with the idea late, we're splitting it. So,
I thought Arsene had some good banter after the game because the reporter asked him, Arsene, did you see the planes fly over the stadium? And he said, yes, but they had the wrong ones out today. Joking about
nice.
Last time, obviously there was all Wenger out banners. And I would imagine if someone did try to have a Wenger out banner, at whatever airport near Huddersfield, they probably would have said, we're not letting you fly that one today.
I don't know. Money talks. Cashola tends to talk, but
so another thing Arsene said today when he was asked, "Do you feel relief?" I am sad. At some stage, it has to end. I wish everyone well. The fans have been great until the end. I wish the club well for the future. It will be hard to adjust. I'm an Arsenal fan above everything else. I'll stay in football. Not sure if it'll be in management. I'm addicted. I think his best place is in TV coverage, personally, but. I guess I'll ask you guys, where do you think he'll end up ultimately? Do you think he'll go back into management? Do you think he'll stay as a pundit? Mike?
We actually had this conversation at the pub today, and the most interesting response I got, and that I think is plausible, is that in a year or two, maybe not even a year, depending on how this summer goes, he could be the next manager of England. Everyone thinks France, but I mean, he loves English football. He loves England, obviously, and he's made comments before about. Although I just don't know if I see him as the managing an international team is so different. There, and it removes a lot of the things that he enjoys doing. He likes structuring a team based on his values and. And unfortunately, although I think it's hurt the team over the last few years, he likes buying and selling players. I think he just likes doing it the way he likes doing it. So I'm not sure that an international job would be great for him. But it's hard to see him at PSG, hard to see him at any other top club, and it's hard to see him taking a mid-table job like the Everton job that I keep hearing people talk about. So. If anything, I'd say a year or two out of the game, and then back as an international manager for the next World Cup cycle.
Yeah, that's a good point. The great thing about him being an international manager is all the transfers are free. So, he doesn't need to worry about transfer fees and financial fair play. Tom, where do you see him ending up?
Well, to riff off what you were just saying, I don't think he could take over as England manager because he can't put any French players on that team. He's going to be confused.
But he can put Theo Walcott on the team.
Oh, God. Klinsmann figured out how to put Germans on the U.S. team. There's always
they were the shit Germans, though. The ones that couldn't play football.
Going to be a lot of calls to the embassies getting people's passports switched around. I could swear I heard a couple weeks ago that he said in a presser that he wants to stay in club football because – yeah, I was waiting for that.
Sometimes I have to be prompted.
Because one of the things about international is that it's not as time-consuming as club football. Because one of the things that people say to kind of denigrate international managers is they go, well, that's only a job 3 months out of the year. And Wenger needs a job where he's doing that 12 months a year. I mean, the guy is a workaholic personified. Ferguson might be the only one that worked more than he did. I imagine, so this came up at our pub today too. If he goes to a club, I think he's definitely going to have to go upward or at least equal. If Zidane loses this European Cup final, they're going to cut him, I think, because that's just Madrid. He didn't win the league. He didn't get the Champions League. They want instant success. I could see Wenger going to Madrid.
What do you think the fans of Madrid would think about that?
I think they would be excited because Wenger has turned down the opportunity to go there before out of loyalty, and then now it's almost.
He says.
Yeah.
I bet he has.
I don't doubt it. I just had to throw that in there.
I was going to say the same thing, Tom. I think Madrid seems like the best place, and sorry to jump in, but that club, you need someone who can manage the egos, which he'd be able to do. Yep. You need someone who can stroke the egos, which he'd be able to do. They need someone who's a yes man, which he's perfect at because, he does say yes to the board and he follows their rules. And he can attract top talent because he's, like we always hear, I came here for Arsene. So that seems like a great location for him. I would beg that.
You think that he could work under the Florentino Perez or whatever?
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Those guys are out for blood. Like you lose a game, you win a game by less than 4-0, and your job's on the line.
Mike, the three of us could go in and coach Real Madrid to a Champions League final.
I'm not questioning that, but
you know what I mean?
And then we'd all be fired.
But I think if they win the Champions League and Allegri walks from Juve, I wouldn't be surprised if Zidane goes as well. I mean, that's 3 Champions Leagues in a row. It's not going to get any better for him.
Yeah.
Well, that seems like a stretch, but
yeah. The other thing that came up, someone I was talking to said, "What if he went to Dortmund? Because Dortmund are still looking for a boss." That one I'm not so sure about because I don't know. I mean, Dortmund have a European Cup, right? And they've played for one more recently than we have. They've won the league more recently than we have, but the Bundesliga versus the English league, the Bundesliga is still not really on the same level. And Wenger might also
not a feeder league though. Actually, it kind of is a feeder league.
I mean, yeah, I guess everybody eventually wants to come to England because that's where the most salary money is. What I think would be tough about him going to Dortmund is they've taken a lot of the top talent from Dortmund is at Arsenal now. They got Aubameyang, they got Sven Mislintat. Mkhitaryan obviously had to go to be exiled at United for a spell there, but to go to Dortmund, he's not going to have as much money to spend. And really, for anyone to go coach in the Bundesliga, if they're not coaching Bayern, it's going to kind of suck because you're just going to have to figure out a clever and completely original way to beat Bayern. I mean, you look at Klopp, he did the gegenpressing thing, but since then, man, Red Bull's trying to spend their way to getting close. I mean, Schalke was very good this year, but
Red Bull who?
It's supposed to be called Rasenball Leipzig, a lawn ball, but
we like to call it Leipzig.
Leipzig. Yeah, but I mean, it would be a challenge for Wenger. It's tough because you're not going to have as much money as those guys. But to take over Dortmund, I mean, shit, he'd probably get them top 3, top 4.
To me, that makes more sense than Real Madrid. I mean,
well, and the other also think like we're in talks with Monaco's Jardem. I mean, he could always go back there. So I guess we'll have to see.
That also makes a lot more sense to me than anything else. But
did he get run out of Monaco though?
Not yet. Oh, Wenger?
He was at Monaco. See, I mean,
you don't need Monaco to go to Japan, I guess, for
right
for fun.
To go to Japan, it's almost like they sent him there or something. He did something so awful that he was assigned to go to Japan.
He's smoking on the sideline, which apparently he can do, but if you're in the shower, you can't do.
So we get our first win in 2018 away, and we get a goal from Pierre. He slid home across from our longest serving player and captain of today's game, Aaron Ramsey. For as boring as a game, I thought that the biggest standout players for me, Mike, were the 2 keepers. That Huddersfield keeper played exceptionally well, and I thought Ospina was really decent today. And then I just wanted to quickly mention that since his return from injury, La Gazette has contributed 8 goals, 1 assist in 9 games, and that's a goal contribution every 70 minutes. So,
wow.
And when you divide that when him and Aubameyang are on the pitch at the same time, it's even more fruitful.
So let's hope that he goes through the World Cup injury-free, has a great World Cup.
Don't even bring that up.
I think France are going to win it. They're just absolutely stacked. And he comes back healthy preseason. But nice for Arsene to get the win.
Dude, we are on amazing form away from home now. We finished off season with a 100% record, 3 out of a possible 3 points from today's game. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I knew we could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Against the team who should have been relegated.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, when you getting back to Ospina, I mean, he's equal parts like frustrating and exhilarating. Today, I thought he was going to end up falling victim to the 3 knockdown rule. I was like, save a goalkeeping sub. keep a third sub for Macy. As soon as they made that third sub, I'm like, we're going to end up with Rob Holding in goal at the end of this game. It's just obvious.
They probably would have put Mainsley in there because Mainsley can play.
That was the debate in our pub. Was actually I've always said Mainsley can play in any position, and
he's
and
like
we were about to find out. He's your utility.
Dortmund used to have that guy Kevin Golskreutz, and Golskreutz has played every position: striker, keeper, every position. So yeah.
Yeah, but Ospina, the last time he was hurt and almost subbed out of a game, he then kind of alligator armed a shot which lost us the game against Manchester United. So I was a little worried about the same thing today, but instead, 91st, 92nd minute, he made a huge save. Yeah. Almost had to go to the goal line review, but it was certainly not a goal. So that would have been a very unfortunate way to end Arsene's career, conceding an injury time goal to not get the win, the 1-0 win on the road. I mean, that would have been a little disappointing.
Right. So that puts us in 6th place, and I believe that is Europa League via qualification, right? So that means our season will start in July?
No, 5th and 6th, because of the teams that will have won the FA Cup and the League Cup. 5th and 6th in the league are automatic group stage qualifications. Okay, 7th, where Burnley is, they will have to play in late July to qualify for the group stage.
Does Liverpool winning the Champions League have any kind of bearing on this?
On that, no. No, it only would have had bearing if it'll have bearing because they're in a qualifying game in the Champions League right now. If they win, they obviously won't have to play that qualifying game, and we'll just have five clubs in the group stage. But so yeah, this. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and it's like just outside of Arsenal, it's kind of crazy that Chelsea will be in the Europa League with us next season. But you know what? I don't know, man. I wish we didn't have any European football next season. I wish we could go and just say, hey, we're not gonna compete in this, but we need the money.
Well, we need the Europa League money. I wouldn't mind, after what we saw this year and giving it a run and almost getting there, I wouldn't mind seeing an even more youthful approach next season to the Europa League with the understanding from the beginning that, hey, if we can get into the group, into the knockout stages and maybe past the first, the round of 32 or the round of 16, then we'll start taking it seriously. But we don't want to tire these guys out in November and October and even in early February. So
is there a fire drill?
Oh yes, the Caps have scored
fire
again.
Drill.
All right, beautiful.
Is there a fire drill?
Beautiful. This is the year, by the way. Said everyone always and was always wrong. So Andy, a little bit of season in review for the podcast. Just quickly, we'll do more in our hopeful upcoming crazy Wolfpack banter fest, but. It's been a whack season for Arsenal. The word of the day for me today is whack. I think I called you whack earlier.
You must have been listening to the Rock the Bell station on Sirius or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's my jam. But it's been a blast commiserating with you, and the best part about it has been all the new people we've had on the podcast, all the ducks that are broken. So. Would you care to hazard or hazard a guess on how many new faces we've had or new voices we've had this season on the podcast?
Ooh, new voices, right?
Yeah, people you hadn't had on before.
9.
9? How about 26?
Really?
26 new people on the podcast this year.
We've done 26 podcasts.
We've done almost 50. And half of them with new people. So yeah, just a quick shout out to and the first one, good old Andy Gixer, who we love no matter what he thinks, no matter what he says. Second one, Gooner girl Amanda, who we also love no matter what she thinks. And we lost our virginity to her, actually. We broke our female duck when we had Amanda on the pod. So Harry Pratt of the Daily Star, Gav from SheWar.com, Elliot Yankee Gunner from Arsenal Vision Podcast, Fredo and Sebi, which was one of the low-key favorite podcasts of the year. We had these two guys didn't know each other before the podcast. One of the funniest, most enjoyable pods that we did, I think, came from these two guys. Sebi, our unpaid intern. and definitely one of the funniest people I've met. Tim Payton from the Arsenal Supporters Trust, who I ended up meeting in person a couple months later. Good guy. Miguel Delaney. I wish you could have been on that podcast, but you were surfing or were doing whatever in Cancun at the time. Gooner Gimli, Maitland-Niles, formerly of Burkamp Wonderland. Sophie Nicolau, Tiffany Campo, and Lori Ziegler. Amy Lawrence, probably our biggest name to date at that point. Troops with Robbie, which was the least intelligible podcast we put out there for sure, along with Steve Manos from Gooner. Drew Thompson, Matthias Karen, Super Kevin Campbell came on the podcast this season, which was probably the biggest treat for me until a month later I got to meet him. And then Schwinn, Mr. Leipzig from the Clock End Talk podcast. Lee Gunner, whose real name is Lee Gunner. James McNicholas, Gunner Blog. Andy's brother-in-law, Will, who's a West Ham fan. The Plug, whose entire life and career rests on whether Allegri actually comes to Arsenal or not. Rocco Fasano, and T-Bone, Tommy Sevens, joining us. So it's been a stacked year of new guests, and there's just I can't tell you how many more I've talked to about coming on the podcast that we weren't able to put on this season. But next season we'll have a whole new set of new first-time guests.
And you can follow our podcast this summer, MLS, with Mike and Andy.
where it starts at midnight every night, and you just watch us sleep through the entire night.
I've probably not watched a minute of the MLS in 2 seasons. Here,
I actually turned it on last night because I happened to notice that DC United was winning 1-0 in the 15th minute, and I think it may be only the second time they've been ahead in a game all season. So I turned it on, and within 5 minutes, we're down to 10 men and losing 2-1. It is the worst franchise, and we're about to sign Wayne Rooney. So hey.
So let me drop some Premier League stats on you guys from this year, because some of them are absolutely crazy. So Manchester City has only trailed for a total of 153 minutes in the league.
Wow,
that's absolutely ridiculous. Liverpool remained unbeaten at home in top flight for the season. Which is pretty cool. Bournemouth have picked up a divisional high 21 points from losing positions this season, which is pretty ridiculous.
And 12 of them were against us.
Yeah. This one I love. This one I absolutely love. Everton boss Sam Allardyce.
You're gonna have to do that. You're gonna have to do that one again. You froze up.
Oh, sorry. Sam Allardyce lost his 200th Premier League game today with their defeat against West Ham, only second to a manager with 238 defeats. Do you guys want to guess who that is?
Arsene Wenger.
No.
I don't know. Alan Pardew.
No. Good guess, but no. Michael?
The last guess I can come up with is your mom.
Harry Redknapp.
Oh, yes, of course. I was trying to think of somebody old and feeble and disgusting and who's – I'm not going to say.
Yeah, there's always the rotating cast of 3 guys that it's like musical chairs, Sam Allardyce, Pardew.
Hodgson.
Yeah, and tracksuit guy, Tony Pulis. It's just kind of like hey, who's the guy we can bring in here to kind of like run this place and make sure that the players show up and, okay, get him.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's such a short-term move.
Yeah, and then here's another stat, which shouldn't be surprising, but it's pretty impressive. Since the start of last season, Manchester United have kept more clean sheets than any other team with 36.
Wow.
So that's pretty much almost an entire season out of 2 where they haven't allowed a goal, which is...
Yet they're also averaging 1 goal a game over that same time.
How many of those were 0-0 draws, I don't know.
And 1 win.
Yeah, but that Man City one is absolutely absurd.
That is crazy. I mean, we know that they only lost once this year and that they only tied probably...
it's like a match and a half almost.
Yeah, they probably tied 5 times and lost once. But, I mean, to not even be behind in any of those games is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You want to get to some user questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's a bag of dicks user question night. So it might be the last one of the season. So we're gonna do a little different than we normally do. Bagofdicks.com, of course, became our sponsor earlier this year, in November. It's been a very lucrative partnership for all of us. We've made no money off of it, and they've made no money off of it. So, but we've had a hell of a lot of fun, and a couple of our listeners and users and friends have gotten their own bags of dick.
So we've actually lost their money.
Perhaps, yes. But they don't know that. So the winner tonight will be the one who is adjudged by Thomas to have the best user question. So I'm going to go through the user questions without naming who asked them, and then at the end we'll go back after he's picked it and go. And of course he'll know who asked those questions if he merely looked at our Twitter feed for today, but I asked him not to, so we're going to assume he didn't. First question. This was actually from last week, but so I'll join it with his question from this week, his or her question from this week. How many of the current non-regular players, for example, Mainsley, Iwobi, although he's kind of a regular player, Nelson, etc., do you think are ready to make the step up and start 15 or 20 games next season? And I'm assuming he means not Europa League or League Cup games. If, like me, you think none, does that put even more emphasis on the £50 million war chest? Tom, what do you think?
For me, I think Mainsley is good enough to be a starter.
I love when he's just become Mainsley.
Yeah. I think he's good enough to play at either of the left or right back roles. I think he's supposed to be a defensive midfielder by trade, I guess. I think he's good enough to play 15 or 16. I'm not so sure we would want to start him against, say, Manchester City or Liverpool or something like that.
We did start him against Liverpool, and he wasn't awful. I mean, it was a 3-3 tie, but
yeah,
I don't know that it was necessarily his fault.
And I don't think we have anyone that could stop that front three, anyways.
That's true.
I'm actually very curious to see what the new manager is going to do with Alex Iwobi, because when he plays for Nigeria, he's good. But
then send him on loan to Nigeria then.
The problem with he today even is just kind of a.
I love Nigeria, by the way.
He gets in that final third, and it's just. I think he doesn't have that mentality yet that a lot of senior players have. That I mean, you get in that final third, you have to be quick, you have to be ruthless. And he gets there and it's just, I don't know if I should pass, I don't know if I should shoot, and then
it's a confidence thing with him. It's blown.
I mean, my favorite tweet of the week, I forgot who put it out there, but someone said an anonymous donor gave $75,000 to the Arsenal Foundation, and then the retweet says, "I hope it was Iwobi Iwobi was paying for lessons from Mkhitaryan." And
because it was an auction for a lesson from Mkhitaryan.
Yeah, so I hope it was Alex Iwobi that here's when you shoot, here's when you pass, and you have to be quick about it, because otherwise you're going to get the ball taken. Or
here's when you come home from the club. Yeah.
So I mean, say like Reece Nelson, we were all high on him, all of us Arsenal Twitter users, but the handful of times he's gotten in, he really, really looks all out of sorts.
I mean, it's those July players that just, I mean, in July they look like they're going to be regulars, and then they're not.
And we get excited, say, for instance, Eddie, he scores that goal, and then today you see him on the bench, and it's just kind of a, wow, what if Eddie would get in there and score the second goal that would, really seal the deal here. But even Eddie, when the camera was focusing on those players today, the people at our pub were watching it going like, they just look so young, especially behind Bold and Wenger. But I think Eddie's still 18 years old. I don't know. I don't think they'll probably have to go on loan, would be my guess there. And obviously, whoever's coming in, hopefully it's Lord Allegri. They're going to have to work out, who goes and who stays. Personally, if Iwobi goes on loan, I won't be upset.
Andy, let me ask you a question. Who's the last, like for a top six team, a Europe team, who's the last Premier League striker who's a regular fixture now, who came up through the youth team of that club rather than being purchased from abroad? I mean, it used to happen all the time, but because I'm thinking, like, does Nketiah have a chance to become a regular starter in the Premier League, no matter how good he is?
I mean,
because they're always going to be buying Aubameyangs and stuff in front of him. Like,
Harry Kane is probably the only one I can think of, but
Marcus Rashford.
Okay,
well, Rashford's still so young, but Kane Kane was sent on loan a lot of places, and the only reason he got a run with Tottenham is because Soldado was so shit. And Kane, for his credit to him, I mean, he absolutely crushed it. But yeah, I would say Rashford. But Rashford's more like he could play as a winger. He could play a little bit as a number 10. But I would say Harry Kane and Rashford are probably the two.
And Rashford's not an every game starter either. I mean, Rashford had to make way for Alexis when he came in. So I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not at that level. But the answer to the question is Harry Kane. I wasn't thinking of him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's my point is, it just doesn't seem, maybe you could have said Sturridge a few years ago, or Welbeck even was on his way. But I mean, it always seems like the teams that are really going to be pushing for Europe are bringing in attacking, their goal scorers from abroad instead of promoting them through the ranks. But I don't know, maybe it was a stupid question. But the other part of this question was, why is no one having a conversation about the replacement for Vic Akers? Do you know any ITKs who know about this? And I actually do believe that I was told by Taylor at the pub today, my mate Taylor, that Vic's son Paul is taking over for him. There's basically a passing of the torch. It's not an open competition. There's no sources that are.
I'd pay to do that job.
I said, I guess my application was turned down.
I would pay to do that. I'd give them money.
You just put dollar bills or pound notes on each of the lockers. But yeah, so apparently Paul is taking Vic's tradition of wearing shorts to every game, regardless of the weather, a step further, and he's wearing either a Speedo or a thong to every game.
Good for him. You don't want to live in your father's shadow.
No, you want to be as far from it as you can.
Yeah.
At least that's what my son always tells me. All right, second question. Who wins this 5-on-5 game or 5v5 game and why? The first 5v5 squad is Seaman, Adams, Gilberto, Bergkamp, RVP. The second one is Lehman, Campbell, Vieira, Ozil, and Carl Henry. Oh, wait. I think it was Thierry Henry that he was asking about. I have a couple questions before we can throw this out for answers.
Who the fuck is Carl Henry?
He was like this asshole forward for Wolves or some shit, or Middlesbrough or somebody like that. But it just said Henry, and I'm like, you got to be more specific. Just like with Campbell. I mean, is he talking about Saul Campbell or Joel Campbell or fucking our buddy Kevin Campbell?
I mean, he gave it, Mike. He's building out the lineups from the back.
Well, yeah, but when I see Campbell, I'm sorry, I think Kevin Campbell, and I think of Campbell's Chunky Soup. I mean, those are the two things I think of. So. And also, is Ozil sick for this game? Or is he healthy? Did Lehman urinate before the game, or is he going to need to do it during the game? And lastly, does the little boy in RVP want to play for Vieira's team instead of his own? Those are the important questions to me. But if you just take these 5v5s, Tom, who are you going with there?
Okay, yeah. This was a tough one for me because I look at that team that has Mesut Ozil. I'm going, well, this is going to be a 4-on-5 match. But I'm probably going to have to
love him some Ozil, does he?
No. And I know people go, well, last year's FA Cup final, and I'll go, yeah. But let's remember in 2000.
Yeah, is what they teach you in debate class, by the way, as to how to win.
Let's say, for instance, he won the World Cup, but he was subbed off when Germany won the World Cup. So you could make the argument that Germany won the World Cup despite Mesut Ozil being in that game. So that being said, because it's 5 versus 5, and having seen a couple 5 versus 5 games, a lot of those games, it's almost like basketball. If you have one player that's good enough, he can carry the whole squad. Thierry Henry, if you get prime era, Invincibles era, Thierry Henry, not even my hero, big tone behind me, can stop him. And I think Thierry Henry will single-handedly win the match. I mean, I pretty much stopped reading when I said, well, which team gets Thierry Henry? You could probably put Big Tone and Steve Bold on the other side, and Thierry Henry is going to score on him. I mean, Dennis is awesome, probably the most technically gifted player we've ever had, but he can't score goals like TT did. So that's who I'm going with.
All right, Andy.
I was going to go on the other side of it. I thought with Adams, Seaman, great back to Camp and RVP up front. I'm gonna go with that one.
So I got to break the tie here.
Yeah. Both lineups though are sexy.
Yeah, I mean, this was a very well constructed question, which may give you a hint as to who asked it. But in any case, also the agenda that we share online might give you a hint as to who asked it. But I'm going to go with any team that has Tony Adams in it. I just am, and throw in the Dutchmen in that. I'm going to suspend my hatred for RVP for just a minute, and assume that we're going to get the RVP of the year before he left. The little boy's still there, and I'll go with I've got to go with Seaman. You can't have me not pick Seaman.
Can we isolate that? Can we turn that into a soundbite?
Isolate that. Yeah, we'll play that that'll be our season 3 intro instead of
Mike, if you could just say "I love a bag of dicks," I can do wonders with the editing.
I'm recording this as well, so you just said it. All right, third question. How many gaping holes will our new manager need to fill in order to come good next season? Yeah, I might have mentioned when I was asking these questions that one of our guests, and pick which one, is a major perv. I probably should have said all three of us, but so one of our questioners actually took that to heart. Tom, how many gaping holes will our new manager need to fill in order to come good? It's
going to be a summer like all the other summers. Defensive midfielder, central defender, new goalkeeper. Ospina did all right today, but I remember reading a 442 magazine a long time ago. I think it was I forgot the Italian manager, the guy that managed Bayern for a while, but he said
Ancelotti.
No, the older one, Trapattoni, the one who he has a very famous.
Didn't he manage Ireland recently, or the Ireland or Northern Ireland?
The most famous thing he ever did, when he was a manager for Bayern Munich, he couldn't speak German very well, so he was using Italian expressions, and so he said, "These players play like a bottle empty." So it's eine Flasche leer. So anyway, he said that to build a team, you got to have a keeper, a central defender, and a striker. I think striker and the attack were set. I mean, whoever inherits his team,
oh my God,
this front three. I mean, to have Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, and Lacazette, there's no reason we shouldn't score at least 2 goals. Even against David De Gea, we should be scoring 2 goals. But as a Manchester United supporting friend told me when Vieira left, he said, "You'll never win a league again until you replace Vieira." And I think that central midfield, I'm not going to say Xhaka's garbage, but he's not good enough to win us a title. Maybe he should be shifted out, but we've got to get ourselves some sort of a ball-winning defensive midfielder that can play that pivot role that people are afraid to come up against. I catch flack for this now and again, but the man that I really want is Victor Wanyama from Spurs. He's not getting a lot of minutes lately because they like Eric Dyer and Dembele.
He's a destroyer.
And he was great at Celtic, and I can't believe we let him go to Southampton. And then at Southampton, we let the scum get him. But maybe not even him. We get Charlie Ncham from Celtic, who was at Napoli, who's kind of in that same role. I think he plays for the France U21s. Definitely got to get central defenders. I have no faith in Musti. Chambers and Holding today. Because it came up on our vlog last week. Where is Holding? What's he doing? We saw him ink that new contract, but he's not playing, and these games have been relatively meaningless. Now he's out there. Yeah,
he lost his spot pretty much to Mavro. He was only playing today because of the red card.
And he'll always be a cult hero for the Diego Costa Cup final. But we have to ask ourselves: are these the guys that we want when we're going up against that terrifying Liverpool attack next year? Are these? How
many holes? We need an answer to how many holes. Three. All three holes.
Yeah, 3 inputs.
Okay.
Plug those 3 sockets.
Andy, how many holes, Andy?
Mike, your nickname I heard was the 3 hole, because you're always open for business. I'm going to say 3 as well, but actually I'm going to say 2 because I want to see what the new manager does with our defense. Tom was saying Holding, Chambers, Mustafi, Kashani when he gets back fit. They could be great because we've seen them be great, and they could be absolutely dog shit. But I'm going to say that defensive midfield, let's pull Xhaka out there. Let's put someone in front of El Nini. I think El Nini is great when we're playing the lower league or lower division, lower teams in our league. Those Europa League, he's great for those games. And then we need to bring in a keeper. Czech maybe has 1 year max, but
it should be coming off the bench.
Yeah, but I would love to see a. Let's just go for Butland. I mean, there's gotta be.
Save that thought because there's another question coming up where that might come up.
Yeah, but I was gonna say high caliber players will have a relegation release clause. I doubt very much that Stoke are going to get 35 million for him. They're going to need to break that those wages and get those off their bill. So yeah, let's see what happens. But I'd go for him. I think he's a good keeper.
2 holes, you're saying?
I'm saying 2 holes.
I'm going to go just with all of them. But however many holes there are, we need to fill them because we need a new manager who's going to make our defense airtight. First of all, we need give us a chance to win the quadruple. And
the quadruple.
That includes the International Champions Cup in Singapore, which we won last year, I think. I also want to make sure that we have someone that will guarantee start Aubameyang and Lacazette up front, because those two are capable of some amazing double penetration, and I think that we'll get a lot more goals out of that. So yeah, good question.
Any manager that comes in is gonna based off of the last 4 or 5 matches. You'd be a fucking idiot not to play those two, right?
I mean, just the double penetration alone is just enough.
Mike loves double penetration.
I had to keep saying it because you didn't see the
no, I mean, I get it, Mike, but I'm not going to, drop the level every time. What was that? Mike found a review of our podcast today, and there was a sentence in there where the guy who says, my girlfriend says they swear a lot.
For Americans. That was the full quote. They swear a lot for Americans. All right, next.
My question to her is, has she made love to her boyfriend to our podcast yet?
Well, we know
that's how babies are made.
Yeah, we have, now that we've been doing this for more than 9 months, we know for a fact that
you're welcome, Hernandez family.
47 new babies have been created. And in 6 years, there'll be a bunch of fucking 7-year-olds running around, right, Tom? All right, so
I just caught that.
Sorry. So next question: favorite pint in London and the favorite pint in the Big Easy, which is New Orleans, of course. And which was the best pint and why? And the follow up to that is best in terms of what poison you chose, the salubriousness of the surroundings. What the fuck does that mean? I just took the SATs and I still don't recognize that name. And even the company you were with, who bought the round, whatever made it the best pint. And lastly, thanks for all the great entertainment this season, guys. You can always get yourself curry favor based on compliments. Tom, your favorite pint in London, having been there recently, and in the Big Easy, having been there recently.
London was a tough call because I feel like if I don't say Gunners, then I'm going to upset people. But this last time around, the place that really established itself as my favorite to go to is, you're going to know what I'm going to say, Bank of Friendship.
Oh, yeah. Well, beer-wise, yeah.
Yeah.
And friendship-wise.
Because, you go to a lot of places, just the same lineup, man. Stella, Carling, Foster's, and Bank of Friendship has Fuller's. I forgot what their lager is called, but they do a lager there that's, worth that extra quid. Ding. And
it's first guess who's actually prompted us to do the bell.
And what I liked about it was the bartender there was hot. She was wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt. Joey and I tried
Never worse than the one in Paris.
Oh, the one in Paris was better. She was
that was on my birthday too. Nothing happened, of course, but
total smoke show. Yeah, Nicole even had a hot name.
Remembers the name. Okay, that's
So yeah, Bank of Friendship, and then whatever Fuller's, what their lager is called. The name escapes me. New Orleans is a tough call
because who remembers what you drank and where?
Yeah, I mean, there's one place that the San Antonio people organized it. That place with the mechanical bull, and we were going in there because they're selling buckets of Dos Equis for whatever it was, and I wound up running across the street because whenever I go somewhere, I want to drink something local. So I was going across the street and getting Dixie from this place that was about the size of like one of those news agents in London. It was tiny. Ding.
On my way.
Probably my favorite night in New Orleans was we went to is it called Urban South, that big brewery.
Yeah.
And then they had a lager with it's called like Paradise Park, I think is what it's called. And they had it at that seafood restaurant we went the next night, but it's a lager and it's called I think it's called Paradise Park, and it's an exceptional lager. I mean, for me, having been in Germany for all my formative years, man, I'm lagers and pilsners. I can't do the double IPAs and all that stuff. So
this was a deeper dive on beers than I expected, which leads you into the new podcast career of beers and you.
Yeah, bevies and banter, right?
Exactly. Andy, do you have a favorite beer or pint or location or whatever in London?
I don't drink beer, so no.
Just old fashions?
Yeah, I just drink like literally. I could drink 5 beers and they all taste the same.
Yeah, I'm not that
No, I'm serious. Like I don't know where I went wrong. So I will say that, and I'll just give Andy a shout out because he and I got hammered on Jack and Cokes at the pins. So there you go. No, I'm more of a Scotch whiskey guy.
You're so and old fashions. You're so.
And my wife works for a beer company where we get endless amounts of beer. And
Yep, but it's an awful beer company.
Okay, Scotch code to just come over and take it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So see, I didn't look at this necessarily as the beer, but the experience.
Joey's probably on his way to my house right now.
Joey's actually in your refrigerator at the moment.
He's calling from inside the house.
I have some bad news, Mr. and Mrs. Rhodes. The calls are coming from inside the house. He's like,
is Scotch way more expensive in London for some reason that pops in my head?
It's so weird because like if you get a pint, let's just say like Stella, it's like £2. If you order a Jack and Coke, it's like £6. It's fucking ridiculous.
It's not too well. In some places it could be.
So I think that's why a lot of people choose to drink beer. It's like they would prefer liquor, but they're like,
well, it's all about quantity over quality. Anyway,
I say that though, but like Andy, when he refused to let me buy and.
That's weird. He let me buy everything. All right. So my favorite pint in London, I didn't even get to drink it because it was the one that you, Tom, spilled, knocked out of my hands, and I got blamed for it. But I'll own that. I'll take that. But it drenched Tom.
I carefully timed that.
It drenched Tom Guaranteed Money Canton. I think it was a Kronenberg, but I didn't even get to have it. And my favorite pint in New Orleans was probably taken out of a bucket, like you said, but it was the one I was drinking when Robbie climbed on the mechanical bull, bent over, and his whole butt crack came out of his jeans. So, those were my 2 favorite pints, and so I guess I took a little different approach to the question. Next one, there's 2 more. Next one is if you had to sign, well, this is an interesting one. You had to sign one player from each of the 3 relegated teams and play them next season. Who would they be? And just for your remembrance, it's Stoke, West Brom, and Swansea.
Oh, I was so sad to see Fabianski today.
Oh man, it's not like he came as a surprise that they were getting relegated. The dude was crying his ass off.
Yeah, it's hard to watch a grown man cry.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously, I'll go.
This is what I was referring to earlier.
Obviously, Butland, no brainer. From Swansea, I know he's not a Swansea player, but since he fell into the Swansea team last year, I go Renato Sanchez. And then I've always been a fan of Jay Rodriguez before that injury at Southampton put him out. So from West Brom, I'd maybe say him, or just because we were linked with him, and I do think he's a good defender, Johnny Evans.
Oh, okay, that wasn't what I thought you were going to say. All right,
who did you think I was going to say?
Well, I'll tell you in a second. Tom.
I I was gonna say, Andy, what about Stoke? Did you mention any of the Stoke players?
Yeah, Butland.
Butland.
Okay.
Sorry.
He's balls deep in Butland.
Yeah. Or I'd take Gibbo back.
From West Brom?
Yeah.
You stole mine. All right. Tom.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for Stoke, it's easy to say Butland. So I other than him, Shaqiri is a decent player. Even though I think he's I think he's a prick as a person. So that's probably it's a non-starter there. So yeah, Butland from West Brom. Apparently, we did bid for Johnny Evans because Pardew said something along the lines of our bid was so ridiculously low that he didn't even think about it.
$2,001,000.
Yeah,
that would have been $1.
Just a pound.
And and if we can't get that defensive midfielder that I want, I still like the guy. I think his last name is Krychowiak.
There you go. That's the one I was talking about.
He's because I think he's on loan from PSG.
He is on loan there. So much like Renato Sanchez. If you're going to allow loan players, then that's a good call.
Yeah, and Sanchez. Yeah, he's a Bayern Munich player, but I don't know if he's had a good year for them, No.
I was reading up on him today in preparation for this answer, and he got injured. He fell out of favor. He was busier doing something social media than actually working on his football, and so he wasn't even. He
pissed some people off, didn't he?
He pissed a lot of people off.
Are you talking about Bellerin?
No. Yeah, Renato Bellerin.
And then I guess Swansea. Swansea's a tough one. I mean, Lucas Fabianski would be an easy answer there. I mean, any of the keepers we've mentioned are better than I think what we have on our roster now. But from Swansea, that was because there's the two Ghanaian brothers play there. Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
I think Jordan Jordan's a better because I think Jordan's a younger one. He has more upside. And then they have a young right back that's all right, Connor Roberts.
Just remember, you got to play these guys, and how are you going to take any forward from any of these teams and play them?
Yeah, good point. So
lineups.
For Swansea, for me, I would say Connor Roberts because Hector plays a lot of minutes, man, and sooner or later he's probably going to get a long-term wear injury. And Connor Roberts he's solid. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, he's not going to get you going forward.
He's going to get a long-term wear those fucking stupid clothes injury.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to get. All right. I'm going to go with Stoke. I mean, you've pretty much covered them all. Butland's the obvious answer. But if we didn't have to play him, I'd kind of go for Shawcross, just like as a punching and kicking dummy. You bring him in, you get the guys worked up for a game, or you put him in instead of those like wall-looking things that are supposed to replicate players in the wall for a free kick. You just stick him in there and just keep pegging him in the face. So, but if you got to play him, then Butland's the obvious answer there. West Brom, I didn't even see in the whole relegation. I mean, is he hurt? Because I don't remember him being on the pitch the last few games. But it's not like I've really been paying too close attention to West Brom. But I wouldn't take him back because he got relegated. He left the team and got relegated for a reason. I would go with Krychowiak, or whatever his name is, for the same reason that you did. I've always kind of been partial to Solomon Rondon since the 2011 Copa America, where I watched the whole Copa in Spanish because it wasn't on any English channels, and the Spanish announcers, whenever Rondon would be running down the wing with the ball, it was just beautiful. So, and he had a pretty good Copa, but I don't think he's Arsenal quality, and you can't put him in the lineup ahead of the guys we have. Swansea, Renato Sanchez or Fabianski. I mean, there's no one else on that team I would take. Although I have always been partial to Angel Rangel, and I know that's not his name, but that's what my kids and I used to call him because we collected the like football cards with the players' names on them and pictures and stuff, and I just remember my son going Angel. And he's somehow still on that team. So, last question. With so many players moved out in the past 2 windows, do you see it as the start of a new ruthless handling of player moves post-Wenger? And I can tell you that transferred out in the last 2 windows, basically from the start of the season, Chambo, Theo, Giroud, Coquelin, Chesney, Gabriel, Kieran Gibbs, Alexis, Sanogo, Davucci, and then 7 first-teamers or borderline first-teamers sent on loan. 10 players sold or left on free transfers, not including loans. The year before, only 3, and it was Gnabry, Silva, and Rosicky.
Did you say walk on the auction there?
I said Theo and Chambo.
Oh, you did? Okay.
If it would be even more if I also said walk on the ox. And then the year before that, only 1 player was sold, Lucas Podolski, for £2.25 million, and then 3 free transfers, which we probably should have paid people to take. Diaby, Semi Ajayi, who his brother I think won the Super Bowl, and Rio Miyachi. So I mean, there really has been a ramping up. 10 players departing from the team, not by loan, in the last 2 windows. So is that the start of a trend, Tom?
Yeah, I can't help but wonder if any of this has to do with financial fair play. Are we clearing books to meet any of those obligations? I have to say I like it. I think, as an Arsenal fan, we see a lot of names. I'm trying to remember the guy's name now, the Japanese guy that plays for Stuttgart, Asano.
Oh, yeah, Takuma Asano.
And then you'll see a video on Twitter that, he scored a goal. And then we wonder, can he make that jump? Is he going to be a 15 to 20 goal kind of guy? So I hope, it's good because a lot of these players, as far as I know, maybe Gnabry aside, most of these guys haven't really amounted to anything. So it's good to shift that.
Chesney, but
yeah, get that dross out of there. Ding. So yeah, clean the books not only for the financial purposes, but make a statement that you've got to have maybe a little bit of exceptional quality, as Big Bang would say. So financially it's good, and it's good for the team that we want really good players because we want to challenge for titles again.
And do you see the trend continuing? Is this ruthlessness post Wenger? Do you think that this trend was kind of hoisted upon Wenger rather than started by him?
No, it was hoisted. I think when you bring in a director of football like we have, and someone that's done it at the absolute highest level, the first thing so here's the deal, Mike. We need better players at our club. Look at who we've brought in this last transfer window, and to acquire those players, you need money to pay them. So we're clearing the wage bill, and as Tom said, maybe some of it's driven by financial fair play because we can't bring in great talent if we don't have the wage structure.
So why did we give Holding $130,000 a week then?
I don't think we did, right? But so
I hope it wasn't more than 30.
So anyone that has 2 thoughts and a brain, they're going to know that the new manager coming in is just going to be coaching this team. That everything that's run behind the scenes is going to be run by the Ivan, Mislintat, and then Raul. So I think it was part of, hey, the only way we can afford an Aubameyang, Mkhitaryan is if we clear our wage bill. I think they knew who the players they wanted way beforehand. And Mkhitaryan included in that. I think they knew Sanchez wanted to go, and they knew who they wanted to get in return. So the new manager has to be ruthless coming in because we do have some players that don't deserve to be in this squad. Iwobi being one of them. Send him out on loan, as we keep saying. I thought Welbeck the last couple weeks has looked decent, But again, let's see what happens. But yeah, I think it's a sign for things to come. I don't think players are going to be able to just sit by and assume they're going to start every week. I really don't. But what makes me nervous, Mike, if we bring in Arteta, do you really think Ozil gives 2 shits about
You cut out right there, but you cut out about what Ozil might give 2 shits about, but the answer is no. I don't even need to hear what you said.
the following, let's just leave it at that. No, I said, do you think Ozil gives 2 shits about Arteta as a manager? Do you think he's really going to respect him?
I don't think Arteta is the guy to commit. I've said this about Allegri, or it's got to be someone engaging, someone who the youngsters and the superstars are both going to say, God, we better just buy in. And
before you answer the question, let me ask you this, because I know your thoughts on this. If it came down to Ancelotti, who you taking?
All right, you cut out again with Ancelotti or Arteta is what you're giving me the choice of. If it's between the 2 of them for a transfer at this minute, oh God. Well, because if I say Ancelotti, then I'm basically. I mean, I've said Ancelotti's like. It's like buying high and then ending up selling low. Like you're buying his past successes at a time where I think it's just about past and buy, and that and he obviously he's a vagabond, he's a mercenary, and I don't know that he's going to improve us. And then 2 or 3 years from now, we're stuck in the same position with contract problems on our players who have that uncertainty. So, I would rather have Arteta than Ancelotti. At this point, I feel very strongly about Ancelotti. Sorry, Lee. I feel not that you're watching this, but I feel very strongly about Ancelotti being the wrong person here. And I know Ancelotti won't be here in 3 or 4 years, and I don't like the steadying the ship analogy. I don't know that Arteta won't work out. I fear he won't, but I don't. He could end up surprising all of us, and who knows? But yeah, between those two, I'd take Arteta, but I wouldn't be happy about it.
Raphael Honigstein had some really damning things to say about Ancelotti, that specifically that the players say the practices are too easy and that he doesn't push them. I think Arjen Robben and Ribéry were organizing extra training, and our crew of guys with Mesut Ozil and Iwobi.
This is what the problem has been with Wenger. We don't need to replace it with another version of Wenger who's just happens to have had more successes over the past 10 years,
right? While
also getting run out of team after team after team. So
obviously, he's won the Champions League, but can he get?
The three of us can win the Champions League. I mean,
it's weird that the Luis Enrique train has like completely died.
The second the 200 million figure came up, his name stopped being mentioned.
Okay, I'm sorry, but what Arsenal supporter believes we're gonna have 200 million to start the season like that?
Yeah, and for a team, we don't have Champions League. Our business plan.
The ones who still live with their moms.
Yeah,
minus Tom Canton, because he's smart enough to know that we don't have that kind of money.
I mean, sometimes I just wake up and I'm grateful that we have Lacazette and Aubameyang. For a non-Champions League club to have pulled those two players this year is really, really convincing. And
Aubameyang was basically a summer transfer moved up by 4 months, not a summer transfer from last month that was delayed. If you look at him and say, if we do have 50 million, and I believe that I've looked at numbers that I tend to believe from the Supporters Trust that were based on us being Europa but not Champions League. If you look at that number, the reserves, the player wages, the changes in those things, and the fact that we bought Aubameyang, which I think came from our summer budget, I think the 50 million is completely accurate. And we make, and that's net. So, if we end up selling players, it'll be more than 50 million. But I don't think people.
But that 50 million goes way further with Raul because he doesn't pay all up front. He's very savvy with, I'm gonna give you 10, and everything's back end.
Yeah, we finally got Vagina Crime working with us.
Exactly, but look how many times Barcelona.
People who haven't listened to us very long are like, "What the fuck is he talking about?"
But look how many times he did that to us at Barcelona.
Exactly.
So, that 50 million could go to 3 very good players, be stretched quite a bit. So we'll have to see what happens. It's gonna be, the next 2 weeks is gonna be a lot of fun for Arsenal supporters because it's all positive movement in a direction that we've all wanted to go.
I don't know. I think you mean fun, like in a vomiting kind of way.
You know what, Mike? It's gonna be fun. Andy's still on text right now, guaranteeing us it's Allegri. So I mean, you guys, when we get off this pod, you're both gonna have 800 unread messages.
And it's 4 o'clock in the morning over there. All right, so
Lennon signed in March, so it's it's not a revelation.
Yeah, exactly.
Him and Drew are just going at each other. I love it.
I haven't been able to see it, but the day that we were at Gunners with Kevin Campbell, apparently we signed Allegri to a secret contract that no one was allowed to know about, other than our boy Andy.
Have you guys seen that Juve documentary yet?
No, I want to see that. Well, actually, I don't want to see it now because one way or the other, it's going to fuck with my head.
You know what? It's less about him and more about their play. The first episode is just basically dedicated to Buffon, but it's an unbelievable series. Absolutely great. And the traditions that Juve have.
Does it go back to Heysel and cover Heysel?
No. It's literally last season, and it's their kind of their Champions League. And they go they have some really great they able to watch. I hope they do it with more clubs because it's been really good. I watched the first episode and I was like, this is awesome.
I love a good sports documentary.
Yeah, and it's not all in Italian either. I mean,
if part of it was in Italian, I probably wouldn't watch it.
So I would say it's probably like 70% Italian, but they do have an English someone speaking over quite a lot of it, kind of. But yeah,
we do it together on the podcast.
But yeah.
I'm on the third episode, and what I really like is they show the training, and there's one sequence where Allegri is standing with the players and he's pointing out that, okay, we're going up against Napoli, Hamzik and Mertens, and I forget the third player. They formed this triangle, and they said you have to be ready for it. They're always going to align in this triangle. And seeing that, I'm going, that's what I've been wanting Wenger to do forever.
Yeah, guess who doesn't do that?
Yeah, because
he doesn't do that.
Because Fabregas said years ago that it doesn't matter if it was United or Chelsea, Tottenham or Stoke. We played our game the same, every team. And then Allegri, on the other hand, he's coming in, he watches film. In fact, there's a sequence in one of the first 3 episodes. They hire a Serie D team to mimic the team that they're playing that weekend. And, I'm going, man, why not? If you have the budget.
Do they have one guy like put on like a huge, ridiculous, spiky mohawk to look like Hamzik? So, spoiler alert: do they lose in the Champions League final to Real Madrid in the documentary?
I have not gotten that far.
Or do they change it?
I'm like Andy just mentioned. They focus heavily on Buffon, and Buffon has some really, really heavy non-football things to say. And the one I watched most recently is it's right after Italy failed to qualify for the World Cup, and then Chiellini goes and hangs out with the Italian national team. And, it's obviously tough for him to keep his chin up because, Italy, I think they haven't missed the World Cup since, the 50s.
Since Italy became a country. All right, so we got to pick a winner here and then wrap it up. Andy, you're going to be thrilled to hear that I had a whole long diatribe.
Yes.
I do. I have 2 of them actually. I had a whole thing written about it, Arsene Wenger, kind of my final words on Arsene Wenger, and seeing as how you zoned out and started looking up at the television while I was going through our from this season, I didn't think you were going to enjoy it too much. I'll tweet it out because I spent some time on it, and but I won't.
Why don't you save it for next week?
I can do that, but no, it won't make sense to do next week. Anyway, we got to pick a winner for these questions. So, Tom, you as our guest get to pick the winner. Just as a quick review, question number 1 was the one about non-regular players making the step up and starting 15 or 20 games. Also, the Vic Akers question. Number 2, the 5-on-5 game. Number 3, gaping holes and how many we have to fill. 4 was the favorite pint. Number 5 was the one player from each of the relegated teams. And number 6 was the players out and the ruthless handling of players post-Wenger. And you can use whatever fucking the hell criteria you want to pick the winner. It doesn't matter.
Okay. The Gaping Holes one must have been a really early listener to our pod because that was like one of our first ever episodes, wasn't it?
My guess is that is a coincidence more than a nod to our early
because that was like episode 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. All right, Tom, what do you think?
I really like the one about 5 versus 5 because that's the one I had to think the hardest to try to figure out how would this game actually play out. But because of the football culture, and I do like a pint, ding. I'm gonna go with the pint question. I really like that one.
You know what? I'm happy to get this guy a bag of dicks, which I can't believe I just said that, but yeah.
I think it says a lot. I mean, you can ask on any of the Arsenal Americans because we have good friends that absolutely despise the Tollington, and then there are some people that absolutely despise the Gunners. They'll say, there's too many Americans in there too.
We as Gooners in USA, by the way, love all of them. We just have
yeah. Especially Gunners. Una's very, very good to us. But yeah, I think when someone says this is my favorite spot that I go to before the game, this is my favorite spot after the game, you learn a lot about them. Whereas, I don't know, it seems like 90% of Americans go over there. They all say Tollington. We all want to go to Tollington.
There's a lot of them. There's one less now than there used to be, but
yeah.
George closing. But But yeah, all right. So your question is the favorite pint. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So the first question about the non-regular players was from Sri the Gooner, who keeps his streak alive of asking questions each time. Thank you for that. The 5x5 was Schwinn, who almost won a bag of dicks just now. You keep trying and you'll get yourself a bag of dicks. All right. We almost got into it a little bit last night on Twitter. The relationship was headed, and then we pulled it back today because we love each other. The third question about the gaping holes. The reason I don't think that this was intentional is this is the first time question. This is the first time I recall seeing his name. Strawman at ELECDDES, elect Des, came up with that question. So please, we like your questions. Keep them coming. I didn't even mean to say that. Question number 5, the one player from each of the 3 relegated teams was from Danny the GFP, who is a former bag of dick recipient. So that was a good attempt by him. And then last non-winning question was from Sean Campo from the New Orleans, the crew of Arsenal, the hosts of Gooner Gra, weighing in with the question about the ruthless player movements. So the winner of this week's bag of dicks with the pint question is longtime user and interactor on Twitter, Steve-O, at Footy In It. And I'm happy to get him. Steve-O. Yeah, we like Steve-O. He's always good fun, and now I have the joy of being able to ask him his address. Well, actually, he could pick somebody else to send him to. I have a feeling I know who we might choose, as a matter of fact. But Steve-O, good job. And that's about it, because I'm not doing the vendor thing anymore. I'll post a link to my missive, my massive thoughts, because it's long and rambling, just like Andy, just like what?
Your wiener?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so thanks to all our users. We are anticipating, if Andy and I can agree on a time, one more pod this season. Kind of recap.
My kid turns a year old. It's going to be a tough weekend. I think I got to figure it out, though.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it, because we're going to get the Wolfpack on one more time, because we've done 3 or 4 interlull pods with these guys, and it's always funny as hell. And now we'll do a video one and send it out there and finish off the season in style. So, gentlemen, thanks Tom for coming on with us.
Thanks for having
fun.
Me. And must have exhausted a list of 50 people that were supposed to be on ahead of me. And
no. Actually, look, it's slim pickings when we do a late night pod, because we can't. There's only Danny over in the UK, so we gotta scrape the United States for guests, and you certainly you did a good job tonight. So I'll see you soon, buddy. Andy, talk to you. Have a good week.
Thank you, Tom, for coming on, guys. Have a great start of your week.
And come on, you Gooners.
Announce Allegri.